there's also going to be straight up consumer uses. A great example is I've got an HP netbook that I bought I bought 3 of them I've got 3 girls. I bought them, and when I set them up for the girls after Christmas, they had 2 gigs of free cloud drive, meaning HP lets you sign up for 2 gigs of free storage space out in the cloud that they manage for you, right? And it is straight up free to start with. And I see that kind of as an introduction for consumers feeling safe putting their information out in the, quote-unquote cloud. So, I mean, is Windows on its last legs? God, I hope they are, but that's a personal wish because I'm a Linux goob. Do I think that this is just an effort to squeeze the last bit of life out of Windows? No, I don't. I mean, I think that most of the applications today are written for Windows infrastructure or Windows operating systems, and that's going to stay the same for a long time. I mean, they own the framework, basically. And if you look at...
Notwithstanding 10 billion downloads from iTunes of applications?
Well, yeah, of course. So the cool thing about Macintosh, right, and Apple is that they're really good at getting end users and consumers to try things out even if they haven't quite been baked, right? They're not quite ready to eat, but a lot of people are, attracted to their hardware, their, the designs, the different features. And, I'm not arguing that a lot of these younger people coming up don't really give a damn about the operating system. What they care about is the functionality. I'll give you that all day long, and, my hope is that one day we'll get to a point where, Linux and Apple all have the same kind of feature parity as Microsoft when it comes to like codecs and graphics and multimedia. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing the beginning of the perfect storm, right? And we're seeing some huge advances. And if you think about the last 5 years and how far we've come, I think everybody will agree that a lot of people are waiting for VDI to become more stable, something that was more viable before they started implementing it. And, it also had to do with the economy the last few years. So this year is the first year that we've really seen people actively taking advantage of virtual desktops and what it has to offer as far as centralized management, being able to deploy applications quickly. There are a lot of things, around that save a lot of people, IT people money. And at the same time, you look at the fact that they have the same SLAs in general as having somebody's PC on their desktop. So if something goes down with that user at their desktop, the expectation is it's not backed up and it's local, and the user has no real expectation of being able to recover that. And to some extent, that's starting to not be a problem anymore with VDI.
So, Glenda, you brought up the question of backup. Is there anything specific or unique that we have to do in thinking about data protection in a VDI environment?
Well, I mean, when you're talking about, virtual desktops, right, my big thing is I always tell the customers, don't promise a bigger SLA than, if they were, using their local desktop, because that's not a fair expectation. Now, on the other hand, if you've got VIPs, yeah, you're going to want to, make copies and back it up. But, the thing is that's why you have a master or a parent image or a golden image, and you try to make that image as consistent and clean as possible. And that's why you extract the application layer from that operating system, right? So that's where like Synapse comes in and Citrix comes in at delivering applications virtually and layering those on top of it. So you don't have to worry about the users doing a lot of backing up and stuff. And at the same time, you got to look at roaming profiles. You got to look at their, everybody has, in general, has a roaming profile and a network file share where all of their documentation and their docs should be saved, where it's automatically backed up, right? And it has nothing to do with the virtual desktop. It's all about the storage and you putting it on the drive that you've been assigned, and that little, slice of space that you've been given by your IT guys. And that stuff is supposed to be backed up. And you're supposed to be able to get somebody's desktop up and running in, seconds and just layer the applications on it. And that's what, that's the ideal, right? The ideal is so that there's nothing that you have to worry about backing up on the virtual machines and the virtual desktops. Everything's on the storage, end of the house, and it's on their shared storage drive that they've been giving permission to.
Okay, good. Other questions from the audience, and then I got another one from ROI Dude if there aren't any.
Steve's full of questions.
Oh, sorry.
Steve.
Who's that?
That was Mike.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Steve's actually in the area, but the weather probably caused it so he couldn't join us here in person. But
So Steve was asking Glenda, any sign of VMware incorporating View as part of private cloud IT as a service?
Any part? What do you mean, any part?
any sign.
Any sign of VMware incorporating View?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I've been pretty, public about this in the past. I got a slide deck, I guess about a month ago with 65 slides on it, and all of them said cloud. And, I had to go through and take cloud out. I think that, part of the problem is cloud's not well defined. I think that virtual desktops have a huge, place in cloud. I think that they're going to be, that virtual desktops are going to be, part of the core infrastructure of cloud. But at the same time, there's no real solid definition or industry, standard agreed upon definition of cloud. So everybody's using cloud as kind of an adjective. They're not really using it in a way that is consistent and makes sense to everybody. And, I heard a great question the other day at a customer site where an engineer asked, the customer, what's your definition of cloud? What do you think cloud is? And I think it's important to ask that question because it seems like everybody has a different definition of cloud. But in my definition of cloud, yes, virtual desktops are part of that. Am I actively selling it as cloud? No, I'm looking at what the use cases are, and I'm talking to the customers, and I'm solving their problems directly.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on Glenda's very good comments. I think a sign, probably the greatest sign, would be Citrix with HDX or VMware / Teradici with PC over IP looking to monetize the protocol by leasing it out. I've done some cloud-based and Amazon, essentially glorified terminal services type solutions for customers, and I'm stuck to RDP. Well, if I could go to VMware and lease PC over IP for X dollars a month or X dollars an instance or X dollars a user and make an instance running in Amazon or Terramark or wherever it is, doesn't really matter, but leverage the existing cloud infrastructure. I don't want to build a cloud. It costs far too much money, and the margins maybe are debatable. But if I could lease the protocol, HDX, PC over IP, whatever, Glenda, X, whatever, if I could do that, I think that makes true cloud-based VDI viable. Otherwise, it's, as Glenda said, it's putting the word cloud on some slide decks and calling it desktop as a service.
Yeah. So, and also, for more on that, like the PC over IP, one thing I do have to, kind of step up with is I am a big, historical buff around the different protocols. And I will say this, PC over IP was designed and developed specifically to deliver desktops. Citrus's HDX is designed to deliver, applications. And, when you're looking at, virtual desktops, and when you're looking at, virtualized applications, FinApp is fantastic. It's a great solution. But a lot of people with large Citrix implementations are using FinApp in their implementations to create the packages. There's a lot of incest going on. And, in the public, there's like these, out in the blogs and in the media, there's these solid lines. You're either, VMware or you're Citrix. And, every once in a while you get some guy that, raises the Microsoft flag. But for the most part, this battle is really between Citrix and VMware. And it's something that's kind of like a public battle. All of the engineers who are actually trench warriors and got their boots on the ground, they don't really care about that. They care about the solution, and they care about, taking pieces from wherever they have to give that solution to their end users so that their end users are productive.
Okay.
And the PC over IP and the HDX, the bottom line is they're critical. Graphics and multimedia are, in my mind, the biggest barrier to widespread adoption and even consumer adoption. Some of the stuff that Jason was saying, that leads you down the consumer line, right, where you just lease, he's saying, hey, we should just be able to rent resources, right? We don't need to, build them ourselves. We should be able to rent them and, be able to get to our stuff from anywhere at any time, regardless of whether it's a business, that's providing that information to you or it's your personal stuff. And that's kind of, where that, HP Netbook cloud drive, comes from. And to me, that's me, in my mind, that's us slowly going into and dipping the consumers into the cloud or into, virtualization and showing them how it works so that they understand it natively when they do enter the job market.
Okay, so we're basically out of time, but I wanted to give each of the panel members one last word. I'll give you some ideas. You can either respond with advice to users. I mean, we've touched a lot of areas. Set SLA expectations, be data-driven, understand the user needs. Nick Allen made the comment that planning costs are going to be a big factor in TCO. So any advice to users, that's sort of one category you could choose. Or you could answer the question, is 2011 going to be the year of VDI? So let's start with Glenda. Just final word.
My big thing is this year of VDI, or is every year the year of VDI? I think that there's going to be many years of VDI and virtual desktops. I don't think it's just something that's going on this year. It's, like I said, it's the perfect storm, and we're just seeing the beginning of this.
Okay, Michael Keene, your last word.
It's all about the data, and it's having the plan and creating the roadmap to get from point A to point B, and slaying the dragons that lie between, in that gap. So, plan it.
Great, and Jason, we'll give you the final word.
Beautiful. So I'll agree with Glenda on the quote unquote year of VDI, and I would add that just because a team or a company, organization, consultant, whatever, are good at designing virtual server virtualization solutions does not necessarily mean they've got the experience and the battle scars to do VDI. Probably a third of my time right now is going in, re-architecting solutions because someone designed it the way they would design a server virt solution, and this is a completely new type of solution with completely new requirements, and it all goes back to data, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. All right. Well, on behalf of the Wikibon community, I really would like to thank Glenda Canfield, Michael Keene, and Jason Langone for joining us today and sharing your perspectives with peers. And thanks very much to our friend Rob Pegler for joining and bringing that storage perspective, and of course to my wingmen, Stu Miniman and John MacArthur. Appreciate you guys coming into the Wikibon offices. And I also want to thank the other members who contributed on the call today. Mike Alvarado, Steve Kaplan, the ROI dude, David Floyer, Nick Allen, and NetMag Dave. Thank you for your participation. Just as a reminder, over the next 24 hours or so, we will have up a minimum of 6 research notes pertaining to the call today, so feel free to hit the edit key and add your own insights or post your own wiki tips or your own thoughts, and we appreciate your comments and your contributions to the community. We'll be sending all that stuff out along with the newsletter. You can watch this on justin.tv/wikibon. It'll also be up on siliconangle.tv within an hour or so. So thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for being a Wikibon member. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Bye.